you have this amazing, beautifully designed Squarespace website that perfectly showcases your brand and speaks to your ideal client, but you're not showing up on Google. That's a sign that you need to work on your Squarespace SEO. We're going to be following the SEO checklist that I use with all of my clients in my Lean and Mean SEO agency out in beautiful Bend, Oregon. But first, we need to talk about our SEO strategy. And to do that, we need to begin with keyword research. Now on the channel, we have several videos that already dive super deep into keyword research. Check out some links to those videos below in the description. But I want to show you a very quick strategy for how to find your primary keyword. Now, it doesn't matter what industry you do. You could be an interior designer, a doula, you could have a cleaning service. It doesn't matter, but what you typically want to start with, your service, city, state. Obviously that's for America. Adjust accordingly to where you are geographically in the world. So let's pretend that we're an interior designer in Fort Collins, Colorado. And right now I'm just using the autofill in Google, and notice that interior designer Fort Collins is what showed up. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna paste it into SEMrush's keyword magic tool. You don't need to sign up for a paid account. You can use a free account. I'm gonna be using my personal account, which is the same account that you will use as well. So I'm pasting in interior designer Fort Collins, which we found from Google here a second ago, hitting search, and notice that it's giving us different results. And I don't want you to get too hung up on the numbers here in this video, but notice this column right here is the search volume. The keyword with the most search volume is actually interior design Fort Collins. And so that's going to be my primary keyword that I'm going to want to target for my page. Now you also want to have an entire strategy for your website. There are these things that I like to call money pages. That's your home page, your service pages, and your location pages. For instance, sticking with our interior designer example, you might want to target interior design for your home page. However, you might have a service page for residential interior design, Fort Collins, and then another page for commercial interior design, Fort Collins. You see the strategy? Let's say you also wanted to target Loveland, Colorado. You would build out an interior design Loveland, Colorado page. You don't want to go crazy. You only want a handful of these pages, and there are a lot of other videos on this channel that talk about that strategy, so I'll link to them below. The key is you don't want to build out hundreds of pages like this. You just want a few. You want your home page, a couple service pages that actually cover your main services in the city you're actually located in, and then a couple location pages to cover those towns and other cities that are around you that you also actually serve. But please don't go crazy with this. So now that you have an overall strategy, which keywords are going to go to which page, now it's time to use our Squarespace SEO checklist and optimize our pages. All right, let's just work our way down the list. Just so you know, this isn't in any particular order. It's just the order that I like to check things in. It is not by importance. If it's super important, I'll raise my hand a little bit so that way you know this is more important for SEO. Some of these things are more about credibility, but that's still important for SEO, even though it's not directly related. So as we start working our way down the checklist, the first thing is owning a professional domain. By default with Squarespace, you end up with this blank.squarespace.com website. You don't want that. It costs like $12 to $20 a year to get a domain through Squarespace. Please, if you actually have a business, you can afford this. And if you can't, then you have bigger problems. So please go buy a domain right now and get that set up. There's plenty of videos on how to get your domain linked up, especially if you buy the domain through Squarespace. It's going to be so easy. So just make sure you have that taken care of. The next thing is making sure your site is secure. If you're using Squarespace, you don't have to worry about that. You're good to go. And then you want to make sure that the site is being indexed by Google. We're going to circle back to that at the end, and I'll show you how to do that. Because we don't want to do any of this stuff before we've optimized everything. You do want to make sure that your page is mobile friendly. What I encourage you to do is just pull out your phone, look up your web page, and what you want to look for is a clear navigation button, which is usually that little hamburger thing. And then I also like to have a call to action button somewhere above the fold. So before that first scroll, you want to have a button show up with your main call to action. And maybe that's something like contact us, learn more, or something even more actionable like get started. It's also good to do a page speed assessment. I'm a big fan of GT metrics. And so you just go on here and you can get a test score and it'll show you how fast your page is loading. One thing I want to point out is that you only get about 5 uses for free nowadays with GTmetrix, so use those judiciously. There are some other tools out there, but GTmetrix definitely gives you the most data. I pay $5 a month for it, not sponsored. Just saying this is a tool that I highly recommend using. I just look to see if we have a grade of B or higher. If it's a grade of B or higher, then we're good. If not, you'll have to sign up for a free account, but that will actually show you what's slowing it down. It's usually images, which is a little farther down on our list, but it's important to make sure that you're compressing the images that you put on your website. If you don't know what that means, you can use a tool like Canva to lower the quality percentage of the image, so that way it takes less time for it to load. The image size will be smaller, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want these low quality images on your site. So it's a balancing act. The next thing on the list is having a sitemap that's created. Squarespace does this automatically, but it is good to check the sitemap out. So we'll talk about that in a second. When we get to on-page structure, we're going to talk about the image alt text, and then we're also going to talk about the SEO page title, the meta description, and the hierarchical content. So now that we have a high-level overview, let's start to get down into the nitty-gritty. And these are the things that really, really matter for SEO purposes. The first thing I want to mention is the permalink. So the permalink is yourwebsite.com/the rest of it. That's the permalink, the rest of it. And so if you have a service page, let's say you're a doula that offers birth doula services and also childbirth classes, you're probably going to want to have /birth-doula. That's the preferred method for permalinks. It is word-word, okay? No underscores, no pluses. That's the preferred layout. Your other page would be /childbirth-classes. You want to make sure you follow a structure like that. If you want to change the permalink, just open up your pages and pick the page that you want to edit and click the little bolt thingy. It's a technical term. And it's under here under URL slug. So right now we have something called services-old. Obviously that's not super optimized, so we'd want to change that to maybe something like doula services. So we do something like this. Can I type? There we go. The permalink is super important for SEO, but don't overdo it. Sometimes it can be helpful to put residential interior design Fort Collins with dashes separating all those words, but sometimes it cannot be so good. So I recommend just being pretty natural there, and we'll focus on targeting through other means. And the most important thing is the SEO page title. Now we actually have a whole video where we talk about the strategy behind crafting the perfect SEO title and meta description, which is the next thing. But let me give you a quick overview of what to do for Squarespace SEO. First of all, pull up the Squarespace backend and click on the little settings button down here. And then you want to click on marketing, SEO appearance. And by default, for the home page, it's going to do %S, which tells Squarespace to put in the site title, which is usually a brand name. We don't want to do that. We want to override that. So we found out what our primary keyword was before. So let's put in interior designer Fort Collins. And if you watch the other video on SEO titles and meta description, you're going to learn how to make that even better as you go down the road. So be sure to check out that video and save it for later so you can craft an even better SEO title. But in the meantime, for our meta description, we just want to make sure that we include our primary keyword and a call to action to click on our site. That's pretty good. I just wrote, work with a trusted interior designer in Fort Collins, click to see some of our recent projects. Not super great, but it's a starting place. Now, that's for our home page. Now let's say for our service pages, we want to target something else. Before we can do that, you have to click on pages. The default format is $P M dash %S. We don't want that. We want to override that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do $P, and now we're going to go back up to the top and we're going to hit save. So let's say we want to target this services page. So we'll click on the little bolt thingy, and then you're going to change the page title. So if we wanted to do residential interior design Fort Collins, we could click save, open that back up and click on the SEO tab, and then we'll see that this is already being pulled in here. And then down here, this is where we can write the SEO meta description. So we'd want to put something about residential interior design in Fort Collins down here and include a clear call to action to click through to the page. So that's the SEO title and the meta description. One of the most important SEO hotspots that you want to hit with your primary keyword on your page is your H1. You should only have one H1 on your page, and that is the highest header on your page. All right, to make sure that your text is H1, what you have up at the top, go ahead and just select that, and this little text edit tool will pop up, and you can click here. You want to be heading 1. That's what H1 stands for. And then be sure to go through the rest of your page and make sure that you don't have any other H1s. You really want to follow this hierarchical content structure where the H1 is at the top of your page. And then as you go through the other sections of your page, you have H2s that lead off the page. And then if you have maybe the title of a list, that can be an H3. And sometimes, rarely, you'll need an H4, but you really want to follow that structure of H1, H2, H3, H2, 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 H3, H4, H4, H3, H2, H2. Get it? 2 more things and we're done with our Squarespace SEO tutorial. Number 1 is alt text. This is called alt text, which is short for alternative text. And what it's really used for is to help people that have seeing difficulties, like people suffering from blindness, be able to read what a picture is about. However, it's easier for Google search algorithm to read the text than to actually look at the image on the page. So sometimes we can put some keywords in there. So what you can do in Squarespace to add alt text is just click on an image, click that little pencil to edit, and then scroll down here where it says image alt text. And the first thing you want to do is honor the blind people. For God's sake, actually give them a good user experience. If you have trouble generating alt text, you can also use ChatGPT. Just take a screenshot of the image and say, alt text please. And then if it gets a little too wordy, you can tell it to tighten up. So it's saying a baby's foot resting on an adult's abdomen. A little aseptic. Let's clean that up a little bit. All right, so the final alt text is a baby's foot resting on their mother's stomach after another successful birth from a doula in Bend, Oregon. Ooh, I know that last part's the SEO part, but hopefully our blind friends can forgive us for stuffing in some keywords there for the algorithms. At least that will tell them what the image is about, and I'm sure they're used to seeing keywords stuffed in there, and it's not crazy like doula, 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 bend, 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 bend. Don't do that. Try to make it at least a good user experience for the people that actually need this stuff. Now, the last thing I want to mention, kind of like having a professional domain, is more about looking more legit. If you've ever searched for things like doulas or interior designers or health coaches, there's so many little of the Squarespace favicons. Here, let's look. All right, so I searched for health coach Bend, Oregon, and if we go down, we'll see there's one Squarespace website, there's another Squarespace website, and I can tell from these images right here, there's another Squarespace website. So plenty of people setting up their websites, another Squarespace website, another Squarespace website. These might be pages now of some of our other ones, but you get the point. Like, people can tell that you haven't taken this last step to make your brand look a little bit more legit. Go back to settings on the Squarespace backend, make sure you're on websites, and then click on favicon right there. And then here you can put a default and a dark mode, which is kind of cool, favicon for your page. And you can just build this in Canva. The preferred dimensions are 512 by 512. And I usually recommend doing like a circle icon. You'll see things like Google follow that method. And you don't want it to be too complicated. Keep it super simple. And that way you won't have the little Squarespace favicon anymore. All right, whew, we made it through the entire checklist. Is our page going to be ranking higher? Well, here's the thing. We have to ask ourselves the question, what are the most important things to do? Well, the most important things to do were the SEO page title, having the H1 on the page, and more importantly, making sure that our money pages are lined up to specific keywords. We don't want multiple pages targeting residential interior design in Fort Collins. We only want one. So if you follow that strategy, it will help you start ranking higher. If you've gotten to this point in the video and you're like, whew, I have no idea what to do next, don't worry, I got you. Head over to thencandesigns.com/SEO, and there's this big orange button. Let's take a look at it. There it is right there. Click that button, fill out a tiny little form, and I'll give you your 3 next best actions. So that way your Squarespace website will start ranking higher on Google. And in fact, it might not actually be stuff we need to do for your website to help you start showing up for more local customers in your area. Now, like I said in the video, one of the most important things you have to do is get the SEO title equation right. So if you want to steal my SEO title formula, check out this video where we talk about how to do your SEO title and your SEO meta description. Thank you so much for sticking around for the entire video. Be sure to click that like button so that way more Squarespace site owners can work on their Squarespace SEO. And be sure to subscribe to the channel because we're always trying to help small businesses that serve local customers get more TLC, that's traffic, leads, and clients. And so if you're struggling to get more clients, be sure to subscribe because we'll have more videos. And in the meantime, let's get your SEO title dialed in. I'll catch you in that one.